Was Jack Nicklaus really as great as they say? Despite his legendary status, he faced plenty of controversy, including lawsuits, changes to the Ryder Cup, and even more shocking, a history with racism. Yet through it all, he managed to avoid serious fallout and keep his reputation intact, leaving many to wonder how he pulled it off. Back in 1994, Nicklaus made a controversial comment about black golfers, claiming they had different muscles that react in different ways. This remark quickly sparked a massive backlash, with many people calling it racially insensitive. It wasn't just a minor incident. This statement caused serious waves of criticism, and people began to scrutinize his views more closely. The reaction was swift and intense, with both fans and fellow golfers voicing their disapproval. He didn't stay silent for long, and he later tried to clarify his statement, explaining that he didn't intend to offend anyone. He claimed that his words were taken out of context, and he apologized if they came across the wrong way. However, the damage had already been done. His reputation took a hit, and the incident became a stain on his otherwise legendary career. Even though he offered an explanation, it didn't change the fact that the comment had already raised uncomfortable questions about race and perceptions within the sport. What started as a single controversial remark grew into a much larger discussion about race in golf, a sport often criticized for its lack of diversity. Despite his attempts to move past it, this moment in his career is something that hasn't been easily forgotten. It wasn't just his racially insensitive comments that got him into trouble over the years. His strong opinions often put him in the middle of controversy. Take, for example, the 1970s when he proposed some pretty bold changes to the Ryder Cup. Nicklaus suggested that they include players from outside the US and the UK, which was a huge shakeup for the event. At the time, the Ryder Cup had a long history of being just a competition between the United States and Britain, so his idea to expand it was pretty revolutionary. But not everyone was on board with this change. A lot of people in the golf world felt that it would mess with the tradition of the Ryder Cup. For them, it was all about the US versus the UK, and they were really protective of that. They saw his proposal as a threat to what made the Ryder Cup so special. This idea sparked heated debates, and Nicklaus, as usual, wasn't afraid to stand by his views, even though it caused some serious tension. Looking back, though, we can see that his question wasn't exactly out of place. In the years that followed, the Ryder Cup did expand to include players from other countries, which helped make it the global event it is today. But at the time, Nicklaus's proposal really ruffled some feathers and got him into some hot water with traditionalists who weren't ready for that kind of change. But his challenges didn't end when he retired from golf. Years after retiring, he found himself in a whole new kind of spotlight. The drama began when the Nicklaus companies, now led by Howard Milstein, created an AI version of Jack Nicklaus, accusing the 84-year-old golfer of unfair competition. The company claimed he was interfering with their business by continuing to design courses and make appearances. They sued, saying they owned his image rights. Nicklaus's team fought back, arguing the non-compete agreement was no longer valid and that his identity still belonged to him. The legal battle started after Nicklaus split from the company, with an arbitrator ruling his non-compete was void, while the company allegedly defamed him by connecting him to LIV Golf. Nicklaus was practically born to be an athlete, with a father who was a true all-rounder. His father wasn't just a businessman, he was a talented athlete too. He played football for the Ohio State Buckeyes and even went on to play semi-professional football under a fake name for the Portsmouth Spartans, who later became the Detroit Lions in the NFL. On top of that, Charlie was a scratch golfer and a local tennis champ when he was younger, so it's no surprise that sports ran in Jack's blood. He first picked up a golf club at age 10 and quickly fell in love with it. He began to show his talent early, scoring a 51 on his first 9 holes at Scioto Country Club. His father, who had joined the club that same year, was a big influence, and he worked with a golf pro named Jack Grout, who would go on to become Jack's lifelong coach. By the time he was 12, he had already won his first Ohio State junior title. Over the next few years, he racked up victories, including the Tri-State High School Championship and the Ohio Open. At just 16, he competed against professionals and even shot a course record 66 at Scioto Country Club. By the time he was 18, Jack was already making a name for himself in golf, winning major amateur titles like the U.S. Amateur twice. While attending Ohio State, he balanced his college studies with his growing golf career, winning big titles like the NCAA championship. Jack originally planned to follow in his father's footsteps and go into pharmacy, but as his golf career took off, he decided to turn professional. He turned professional in late 1961, making his PGA Tour debut the following year. He'd once considered staying an amateur to follow in the footsteps of his idol, Bobby Jones, but decided that to be the best, he needed to compete against the best. Shortly after turning pro, his future agent, Mark McCormack, was interviewed and referred to him as the Golden Bear. While this nickname was popularized by McCormack, it could also have come from Nicklaus's high school, where his teams were called the Golden Bears. He had an impressive start, winning his first PGA Tour event in just his 17th start, the 1962 U.S. Open, defeating Arnold Palmer in a playoff. That victory thrust him into the spotlight. By the end of his first year, Nicklaus had earned over $60,000, been named Rookie of the Year, and had already won multiple tournaments. In 1963, he claimed two major championships, the Masters and the PGA Championship, cementing his place among golf's elite. Throughout the 1960s, his career was marked by consistent success. He became the youngest player to win all four major championships, completing the career Grand Slam in 1966. By 1967, he had claimed another U.S. Open title, setting records and winning multiple tournaments worldwide. Nicklaus's rivalry with Arnold Palmer also fueled interest in the sport, and he continued dominating through the years. After he won the 1967 U.S. Open in record-breaking style, he didn't claim another major until the 1970 Open Championship at St. Andrews. His performance in the years between was still strong, but his highest finish on the tour money list was second, and his lowest was fourth, his worst ranking since turning pro. He finished runner-up in both the 1968 U.S. Open and Open Championship, to rivals Lee Trevino and Gary Player, respectively. He made his Ryder Cup debut in 1969 at age 29, where the entire competition came down to his match against Tony Jacklin. In a dramatic moment, Nicklaus conceded Jacklin's final putt, ensuring the match ended in a tie, which was a pivotal moment in Ryder Cup history. He faced some challenges, including weight gain, but he turned things around in 1969 by losing 25 pounds. His father's death in early 1970 fueled him emotionally, helping him win the 1970 Open Championship. That victory, coupled with several wins in 1970 and 1971, marked a major comeback. He continued his dominance, becoming the first golfer to win all four majors twice, a record-setting achievement that solidified his place as one of the greatest. In 1980, he had a strong year despite not playing in many events. He had 4 top 10 finishes, including 2 major wins, the U.S. Open and the PGA Championship. In the U.S. Open, he set a new scoring record of 272, surpassing his previous 275 record from 1967. He held on to this record until Rory McIlroy beat it in 2011. In the PGA Championship, he dominated, winning by 7 shots, which made him the record holder for the most PGA Championship wins at that time. Between 1981 and 1985, Nicklaus had a series of close calls, finishing runner-up 3 times and accumulating 7 more top 10 finishes in major events. In 1983, he finished second in both the PGA Championship and World Series of Golf. Nicklaus also set a significant milestone, becoming the first player to earn over $4 million in career earnings. In 1986, he made a remarkable comeback, winning his 6th Masters title at age 46, becoming the oldest Masters winner ever. His victory, which included an amazing final round of 65, is still remembered as one of the most emotional wins in golf history. This was his 18th and final major championship win. In 1974, he was inducted into the World Golf Hall of Fame. When you look at the numbers, it's clear Nicklaus is widely regarded as the greatest golfer of all time. His game had a certain vastness to it, a level of greatness that set him apart. That's a wrap for today's video. If you had a great time watching, be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.